Hello everyone. In this lesson we are going to learn about the type of CSS. So CSS have three types: inline CSS, internal CSS and external CSS. So let's start with the inline CSS. Okay, therefore I am going to open my Visual Studio Code software. So we can see here in our index.html file I used inline CSS in our HTML lesson. So actually inline CSS is the CSS that's declared inside the line. So you can see here h1 style, color and the text. So basically what is h1? This is the tag, this is the attributes and this is the elements. So you can see here inside my h1, this tag, I also declared the style. What will be the color of my text? It will be the blue color. So I declared the CSS inside the same line. That's called inline CSS. That means the color or the size or the font, whatever I'm declaring inside my attributes, that all I declared inside the same line. You can see here, this is my opening tag of heading 1 and this is my closing tag of heading 1. But I declared the style inside the line. That's called the inline CSS. Right now we're going to learn about the internal CSS. This is the second type of CSS. So let me explain you about the internal CSS with details, with live example. Therefore let's get back to our Visual Studio Code. So let me scroll my mouse because in our HTML lesson we used internal CSS and I used to create a table. Okay, so we can see here in our HTML lesson I created a table, and for creating the table you can see here I also declared the style. You can see here this is the style tag and this is our opening style tag and this is our closing style tag. So in between of opening and closing style tag I declared table, table row and table data. And for the value of our table data, that is, you can see here that this is the borders I have declared with 1 pixel. That means the thickness of the border will be 1 pixel. The color of the border will be black. So I declared the table borders thickness as well as the table colors in here inside this style tag. So this style tag also placed inside this index.html file. That means this CSS or this style CSS is placed inside the same page. That's called the internal CSS. So for this line number 26, you can see here I declared inline CSS and inline CSS placed in the same line. And for internal CSS, I declared the CSS, but I take the different tags and with the different tags I declare the CSS, but that CSS placed in same page. That's why it's called internal CSS. And the third type is external CSS. So what is external CSS? You can already have the idea with the name. That means the CSS that is not present in the same page. Not in line, not in the page. That means a totally different things are called the external CSS. That means the CSS or the style will be declared externally. That's called the external CSS. But till yet we didn't apply the external CSS. Actually, this internal CSS and this inline CSS I did in HTML lesson intentionally, because for the use of my inline CSS and for the use of my internal CSS, now you have the idea. But external CSS is totally a different part. That's why I did not add the external CSS part in our HTML lesson. But for making familiar with you to the CSS, that's why I used inline and internal CSS in our HTML lesson. But nowadays external CSS are using widely. Therefore, we have to learn the external CSS properly. And this is the main intention. That's why I used inline and internal CSS in HTML lesson. But in our CSS section, we are going to learn properly with the external CSS. So let's learn about the external CSS, and I'm going to show you the external CSS from the very beginning, and therefore we are going to jump to our next lesson to learn about the external CSS, how you will create, how you will connect, and how you will declare the styles for a page.